Welcome everyone to the seminar. Hopefully you guys can all hear me right now. This is Andrew BalugaWhale Seidman. We're doing my third seminar. This is the basic table of contents. I posted this in the Deuces Crack thread, but we're going to talk about balance in the beginning, some things where I think that balance is overrated, some hands and things that made me sort of think balance wasn't such a good idea, as well as the arguments for balance, because there certainly are some, and there's really good players who will disagree with me heavily about this, so it's important that we have both sides of the story. And then we're going to go on to talk about thin value, especially with regards to game dynamics. This is going to be game dynamics are the most critical part of understanding how to beat poker, especially once we get into mid-stakes. And so understanding how thin value works in the game dynamic situation right now is going to be pretty important. And that's going to be tied to the next thing where we're going to talk a lot about how many streets are good to barrel in what situations and why that's changed now from where it used to be. And this is going to extend right through into value owning on the one hand and passive lines on the other. And then we'll finish up by talking about leveling, which I think is something that is usually, when I've taught it before to students, has been somewhat mind expanding. Hold on, there's a quick question from David saying, what about keeping c-betting and collecting dead money? The problem with this collecting dead money idea, which is something I'm trying to get rid of as something that we talk about, is collecting dead money only works when your opponent has a dead hand that has equity. But the problem is, because people are getting pretty good at understanding equity, that when they have equity, they usually don't have a dead hand. They don't fold. So, like, let's take this Queen 10-5 example for a second. If we have, like, pocket sixes, one of the reasons we might say, oh, we're betting to collect equity here is because we're going to try to get our opponent to fold ace-jack on this Queen 10-5 board. But people don't fold ace-jack on those boards. They use their equity really well against us. They have a lot of outs, and they, this whole idea of, oh, we're betting to collect dead money. Well, from what? Like, what hands actually have dead money that we're getting to fold here? We're talking about leveling. Leveling is one of those things that has given poker players fits forever because it's a maddening game. I raise for value. You know that I'm raising for value, but I know that you know that I'm raising for value, so maybe you think that I'm raising for a bluff, but then because you know that I know that you know that, then maybe you think that I'm playing that and that I'm actually value betting, which means blah, 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 right? The problem that people think is that they get in the habit of thinking that this is somehow a multiple choice question. That somehow like, oh, well, level A or level 1 is different than level 2 and level 3 is different than level 4, and these things are all different. But actually, it's a toggle. For those of you guys who are not English speakers, natively, toggle is probably where you don't know that well. Toggle means that it's either like 1 or 2. You either call or you fold. So level 1 might be fold, whereas level 2 might be call. But then level 3 again would just be fold. So level 4 is call. So what you find is that even and odd numbered levels are the same. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11 is the same, all the same, and 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, all the same thing. So what we find is that trying to climb up the ladder and trying to say, oh, he thinks this, but I think that he thinks this, but I think that he thinks that, I think this, etc., is actually very non-productive. It kind of wastes your time, it frustrates you, and it usually ends up putting you in a spot where your decision is only a 50-50. And we'd prefer to make decisions better than just randomly flipping a coin. And so how do we do that if it's just a toggle?